I get asked a lot, so how do you get a permaculture job or start a permaculture business? In my line of work, I get asked this a lot. And we have a lot of students that come through our programs, and a fairly high percentage of them actually start permaculture businesses or go on to use it within what they do. And so I thought I would just lay down a couple of pointers that I found helped me along my way, and also looking at some of our students, reflecting on some of the things they've done that have been successful to help them kind of get into their own permaculture business or employment situation. So number one, permaculture is a vast field. There literally are thousands of topics that you could be interested in. And I think, at least as it pertains to getting into a business, for me anyways, I found it really important that I have a real passion for what I do. There's a lot of stuff in business that just sucks. It's not fun. There's things that you have to do, either taxes or accounting or any number of things, and everybody's going to be different in terms of what they like and what they don't like. Chances are, though, you're not going into a permaculture business so that you can do more accounting or, fill out more tax forms. And so there's all these other things that have to happen in your business that you don't like. And so one of the ways that you kind of get over that hump is by making sure that what you are doing is something that you really enjoy. And so because permaculture is such a vast subject, when you are going through your permaculture design course, or if you're reflecting on your permaculture design course after the fact, or maybe you're just reading a book on it, you should be making notes about the things that really fire you up, things that you're really interested in, because those are going to be things that you're going to naturally gravitate towards, and you will overcome your resistance to those other tasks that you may not want to do, because you get to do all this other really cool stuff as a result of finding that passion. Once you've found your passion, there's kind of two rules of thought in starting a business. And one is you start a business when you see a demand for a specific service or product, and then you try and fill that niche if nobody else has filled it. Or number two, you start something that nobody has ever thought of needing as a service or a product, and then you try and market it and hope that people will come on board. Now, the latter is harder in some way because you've got to basically create a demand for whatever it is that you're doing. So we came back to Alberta after traveling around the world, and we wanted to start teaching permaculture. Well, nobody had ever heard of permaculture in Alberta. And so the first 5 to 6 years, we spent an enormous amount of time figuring out how to do marketing, which is one of those things we didn't like at the time. We didn't want to do marketing, but we had to figure out how to reach our audience. Otherwise, we weren't going to be able to stay in business as Verge Permaculture. And so you kind of have to figure out if you're going to attack an existing market or if you're going to create a completely new blue ocean, basically an ocean without predators. There's basically blue oceans and red oceans. Red oceans are full of predators and thus blood, which is why it's red, and blue oceans are completely new areas that you can go into. And I would argue that most of the things in permaculture are going to be in that blue ocean category. Number two, you got to find a mentor. And I've sought out mentors my entire career. I've had many different mentors that have helped me through my career, both on the engineering front. I've had some business coaches, and then also some of the books that I've read have acted as mentors as well. And I'm going to recommend a couple of books to you. So one is Mastery from Robert Greene. And in that book, the reason I'm talking about that, he talks about the importance of a mentorship and actually mentoring underneath somebody. And if you are able to find somebody that can mentor you, it will literally move your career forward exponentially faster than if you didn't have that mentor. Another really good book that I'd recommend reading if you're going to start a permaculture business is a book by Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art. And it's a really incredible book, actually, because the way Stephen has written it, it's like he's speaking directly to you. It's a very unique book, and one that I read on a semi-regular basis. Both of those two will help you to wrap your head around how to build the skills that you need. That's the Mastery book. And then once you've got enough skills, how to get off your ass and get started. A lot of times we'll have the skills, but one of the challenges that people face is they think they're not smart enough. They can't do it because they don't have all the information. And what I'm here to tell you is that if you wait till you have all the information to do that thing you want to do, you'll never get around to doing it. And so we're always making decisions with less information than we probably should have. And that's just the nature of living on this earth. And at some point, you actually have to get off the pot and start pursuing this idea. The world needs you to. And that's essentially Stephen Pressfield's message is just get out there and start doing the work. And the things that you need will start to appear. Which brings me to one of Mollison's quote is that when you'll know you're doing the right thing when the resources that you need start pooling around you. So a lot of the time it's like figuring out what your passion is and just starting. And if you are able to do that, then the last piece, I don't normally quote Jeff Bezos, but it takes 10 years to get to an overnight success was one of his quotes. And with business, you have to be doggedly persistent. You literally need a minimum of 5 years. So if you're not willing to put 5 years into starting your business, there's a very high chance that you won't be successful. And more realistically, it probably will take closer to 10 years, especially if you've got kids and a wife and everything else, a bunch of other kind of peripheral things going on in your life. Or maybe those are center and this business is a peripheral thing, just to kind of get the feet underneath you. If you don't give yourself enough time to get all the systems of your business started, then you definitely will not have a successful business. Now, the reason I focus so much on starting a permaculture business is that the reality is that there just aren't that many jobs in the permaculture space yet. And the more permaculture businesses that start, the more permaculture jobs that are going to exist. And right now we're in an early adopter phase where more and more people are taking permaculture design courses and they're starting these enterprises. And as more of those businesses start, I can see there being a heck of a lot more opportunities for permaculture employment as well. And so really it's just get the right people around you, get off your butt and start doing something. Don't worry about not having all the information. And trusting that if you do the right thing, the resources are going to emerge. And so you can use that as a feedback mechanism. And lastly, having the persistence to stay in the game long enough. Now, I'll just speak to that last one a little bit more. One of the ways that Michelle and I did this was that Michelle actually kept the job in the oil and gas industry while I built Verge Permaculture initially. And once we felt like we had enough stability with Verge, then Michelle actually left her oil and gas job. And one of the reasons that we were successful at that is the rule of 5 Bs. And it originally started off as the rule of 3 Bs, but now we've evolved it to 5. The piece of advice that I got was that you can never do more than 2 of the 3 Bs, which are businesses, building, and babies. And so if you try and build and have babies, you can't start a business. If you start a business and have babies, then you can't build. And so basically you can only do so many things in the 24 hours a day that you've got. And if you take on too many of those things, you will implode and you'll probably have a divorce or worse. There are a couple more Bs, which is beasts and bushes. And so you can't, beasts being raising cows or pigs or chickens, and bushes being, having gardens and food forests and trees and everything else. And so keep in mind that there's only 24 hours in the day. And so when we first started Verge, we didn't own our own house. We didn't have kids. We weren't building. We didn't have a food forest that we were managing initially. And we definitely didn't have any livestock to take care of. So we really were just focusing on ourselves and our business. And that really allowed us to put a lot of our love and energy into starting Verge. And as Verge became more stable, then we had babies. And now we've got a farm. So we're starting to have bushes. We're not building. We are building a little bit, but we chose a property that wasn't raw land that required us to build a house. I cannot imagine raising kids and building a house and running a business and all the other things. You do have to say no to some stuff. And I probably still have said yes to too many things right now. But if you're not careful, you will overwhelm yourself. You can't do it all. So choose wisely. And I'd love your feedback. If you have any other questions, comments, or advice on this topic, please put them in the comment section below. If you're interested in getting into permaculture, one of the first steps that you can take to dip your toe in the proverbial permaculture pool is take a PDC. And so we have an online permaculture design course starting this November 2021. It takes about 3 months, and we take you through all facets of the permaculture space, and you should have a pretty good sense of what it is that you like and if you want to pursue it as a career. So hopefully we'll see you in that course coming up, and we'll see you in the next video for sure.